Hi again. This is page 17. 17. This is page 17 in part 5. At about here, I forget what page was the last one I recorded, but so far at this point, Jackson laid a trap thinking he was going to catch Alex. And the idea is he was surprised to find it's Allie, and she turned the tables on him before he could stop her from instigating the next phase of her plan. So now, where are we? So now she's gone and made him real tiny so that he couldn't ruin her fun. And now we're having sort of the last moments of humiliation as the story wraps up, as the story is heading towards being wrapped up. So they're having some words. She's filming it, and now we've got to have a nod to her to her fictional audience. What do you all think at home? Will my brother learn his lesson? He's a lot smaller than Mr. Bunny. He's smaller than Mr. Bunny. Even my hair. Is hairbrush one word or two? Even my hairbrush is bigger than him. Exclamation point. You know what? This is where we'll open up Word and let spell check. Let spell check decide. Hairbrush. Okay, so Word is telling me one hairbrush, one word is okay, so we will leave it one word. It's another one of those things where it's like you question it in your mind and you can't. All of a sudden, you just can't. Neither way will look right. One word to me doesn't look right. If I separate it, it won't look right because I've questioned it. Um, well, let's bring in the picture and see what we've got for space. Open as layers. This is not you. Number 9. Okay, there we go. Scale 34. Okay, I got a lot more room for this word bubble than I thought I was going to have. Let's trim the picture and get that out of the way. Edit. Cut. Select none. Whoops. Okay. Oops. Control Z to undo that. Okay, I like the looks of that better. And I think, too, what I'll do is get rid of the tail. This is one of those things where, because she's out of the frame, I might cut the tail off and make it a tailless bubble. But on the other hand, with her hand there, it's sort of an indication that she's here. So I could have, since she's off screen, have it pointing off screen. But then again, if the tail is here, going to look like it's pointing to whoever is in the next panel. So I've got to move the tail. Actually, no, let's finish. Yo. Control C that. We will edit paste. Select none. Layer, transform, flip. Edit, cut. Select none. So this is going to go, we're going to go through an awful lot of work on this bubble. Okay, so we will flip that. Oops. And then flip it again. There we go. Yay. Of course, if I had just chosen the other word bubble instead, I could have saved half the trouble, but whoops, I didn't want to layer. This is layer new. This one can go layered image size. Cut. You know, I think, was it the last video? Oh, Jesus. I started talking. Edit, undo, select, invert, shrink. Okay, invert, edit, cut. Okay, select none. You know, I think it was the last video I mentioned that there was one where I was talking. There was one prior that I was getting a little personal and wasn't sure I was going to post, and then I go looking through the folders and the video is gone. So I think somehow there was a video that I deleted unaware and then cleaned out the recycle bin before realizing it was gone. I think that's my theory, but the video is gone. So there is a missing video in this part, which was like originally intended to be the post holiday. Oh, you know what? I'm changing my mind and going to do a reaction shot. Let's see. We kind of clear out some of these. And I'm trying something a little different with the set here that I normally don't do. Kind of an experiment. Um, Normally I'll do these size changes and adjust the scale of the character affected. Um, for this sequence of Jackson at 6 inches, I've decided to scale up the rest of the universe instead. So you'll notice as I'm moving around it lags. It's a little bit slower because it's sort of because the camera has more space within the realm of the set to move around in than if I had made Jackson smaller and left the set the regular size. Whoops, and I'm still on. Okay. No, let's go. Pick it up, Jax. Jack. It's pop. It's always pop. Come on. Okay. Show everybody at home. Oops. Started working out with Alex. I guess that's gonna work. Okay, so let's open the picture. Scale. Because the reason for that, when you make him, I saw this when I was working with Aiden's bully, and I had him shrink what's his name down to 6 inches there. When you make the character that small in the scope of the universe, there's not much room for the camera to maneuver. There's not much there's not much room to sort of zoom in close up, etc., etc. So making the universe bigger gets to be a hassle trying to maneuver around it, but around the bigger set, but it gives me a lot more maneuverability with the quote unquote small character. So it's like with here I'm using this story to experiment with that idea to see if it's too much of a hassle or if it's doable. It's something you can live. Here I am talking and not paying attention. Oh boy. Okay. Select invert, select shrink. Okay. Select invert, edit, cut. Select none, and there's my border. Merge that down. Um, I think since I sort of settled on making this out to be 5 parts instead of 6, the fear is gone. Has gone from, am I going to have enough material to make it 6 parts to, oh my God, edit, to, am I going to be able to get everything done in 5 parts that I wanted to? Or am I going to have to kind of cut stuff to make it fit? And it's sort of as I'm moving into the last quarter of the part, I'm sort of going the other way. Is have I sort of condensed it so much that now I'm gonna have to stretch a page or two here? And speaking of, we'll save as this is going to be page 17. Let's see. Try something. So it's I think with the previous page, I'm all of a sudden realizing like everything that needs to happen with this segment. I think will end up like tying up less space than I thought. So I think it's going to give me a page to play around with. So whereas I was afraid these two weren't going to be actually playing around with the size difference, I thought this was just going to be sort of like the reckoning. Is sort of Allison shares everything with Jackson and convinces him to keep his mouth shut at the end of this. I think I get a little bit of room to play with them. So that's what this page is going to be. Paste as new layer. Transform this way. Because thinking I'm thinking I'd like to have 2 pages for for the denouement to tie it up. No, not really that better jokes. So I sort of want 2 pages with the denouement that wraps it up. Where, where to one to one extent or another, we get a glimpse. I think to one extent or another, it's going to be Alex's birthday, and we sort of get them exchanging the presents that this was all about. And you sort of get like the wink, wink, nod, nod between Jackson and Allison as their parents are still clueless about what's been going on the whole time. That sort of thing. It's sort of the general idea at this point. So working back from that, I've got 4 pages left for this scene here. And what I want to do here is that eventually the idea is that open layers is that she's going to take him over to the computer and show him how much money she's been making from his ordeal. And layer to image size. And sort of to get him to keep his mouth shut when she grows him back, it's going to be a mix of a bribe and blackmail. Um, so there's going to be a conversation where she tells him he's. I think it's a mix of conversation where she's going to tell that do what I wanted it to. Nope. Okay. Okay, that did it. So the idea is, I think she's going to tell him that basically she's going to hide the size changer. So if he does decide to tell their parents, then they'll find it in his room and they'll think that it was just a scheme to get his siblings in trouble and they'll blame him for it like they usually do. But on the other hand, as she shows him that her channel is has taken off and she's making a lot of money from filming him being stupid throughout this piece. She's gonna basically agree to to pay him half of the proceeds from the videos, or half of her share because the idea is Aiden's taking she's promised Aiden half of the proceeds, so she's gonna give him the other half. And because it's so popular, she's still got enough to buy. She's still got enough to buy the $50 tie for Alex that this was all about. Okay, I'm not quite sure how this is going to go. Okay, I can work with this. And left hand. Camera even. Oh my god. Camera's not even pointed. Let's see. It doesn't really matter where her finger is in relation to him because I'm just gonna move him. And the finger has to come a little bit. Okay. I think too, I'm still trying to decide whether or not he finds out um, Aiden knew about it the whole time. Let's see. At the end of the day here, I don't think I'm really spoiling anything because I doubt these will go up before the story does. And we can entertain the audience another way. Um, okay. I think that'll work, but I'm going to hold off resizing the bubble until I get the picture. Kind of at the rate I seem to be working on this part right now, it's probably gonna be another day or two after this to finish it up, and then it'll be a couple of days um, turning all these pages into the Mobi file that you're familiar with from Amazon, like that, and formatting the panel view for all 125 pages. And then then it's usually a day creating covers for each piece, plus for the main cover. And it's like, even though the covers are only one picture and sort of all the extra add-ons are pretty much stock, so I don't need to like redo the titles and all that from scratch for each part. I can just plug in the picture into the template. It's usually, each cover usually takes about as long as a full page for a couple of reasons. And that's usually because I've got to completely stage the scene from scratch. Um, where you see, as you watch me work with these pages, usually the scene is already half staged, and I'm just spending like a couple of minutes um, manipulating the existing universe. Edit, cut. It's sort of with the covers, the characters will usually have to be like completely staged from zero, and on top of that, um, is usually some time spent in like the thought of what I want to do for each picture. What did I just do? Okay. So, well, the interior covers, I'll usually kind of spend a minute or two flipping through the pages for that part, looking for some kind of inspiration. and then stage the picture, and then see if it works, because at the same time the image has to kind of fit within the template so that like the title and the author name are both visible and sort of like unobstructed to the picture is unobstructed by them. So sometimes like the camera will have to be moved around or adjusted if say somebody's head is too high in the picture when it gets plugged into the template. And sort of, well, the interior covers are usually artwork, are usually generally for artwork only, even though there's the possibility someday I might cut these up. Um, I don't think I don't think I need to have him lying on his back. Okay. The idea is the interior covers aren't selling the book, so I don't have to be quite as picky with them. It's when I get to the main cover that you see when it pops up on the Amazon page. That's usually where I get picky and end up spending a lot more time than I would on any other page. Because it's that main cover where um, where it's like in my head everything's got to be perfect, or else I won't like it. I'm kind of fading out here because I'm paying a bit more attention to this. But, yeah, when it comes to the main cover, sometimes I'll take half a dozen versions before I get one that's right, and that doesn't even count like the pictures that don't get saved because of one little detail that throws it off. So I suppose someday I should. Actually, let's move him a little. Let's see this way. There we go. So he's. I suppose maybe someday I should take all the unused cover images and post them up just out of curiosity. So it's sort of like one example where I just couldn't sort of get it right was with I think the Iron Brotherhood Brody. Um, Whereas with the story for Corey, I had him posing in front of the sign for his gym, And I had always intended with Brody, I think after doing that one, like the moment I started Brody, I had intended that his portrait would have him standing in front of Charlie's, and he would be holding the sign in front of him. It's it's hard to see in, I think, within the book, but in the Charlie's set, there's a sign that stands outside the door, and the idea was in the image he would be holding the sign in front of him, and it would sort of be reminiscent of it would be sort of like a call to Corey pointing to his gym sign. But it was the problem was no matter what I did to the sign, like the color would not work with the author name at the bottom of the page. So, yeah, okay. So I ended up, it's like no matter how many iterations I tried, um, doing everything from inverting the colors on the sign, hoping to get some contrast with the yellow name. It just, and like trying to reposition the sign, like nothing could work. I just could not get it to work right. So I ended up eventually having to scrap that after spending a lot of time messing around with that. And I eventually had to settle on him just like standing there giving the thumbs up. Merged. Um, Actually, let's flip this that way. Okay. Even though this is going to be, I think in one of the earlier videos I mentioned something about pointing at their crotches. And I've been noticing like all throughout this story, it's been like unavoidable that word bubbles are just constantly pointing at people's crotches. Oh my god. It's one of those weird things like I know it's happening, I'm not intending to do it though. Strangely enough, it's not intentional. Okay, and for the last panel of the page, we're gonna see him attempting to pick up the brush. Delete keys. I don't know. So maybe when it comes time to do the covers, I should do one video surrounding the covers just to see what goes into that because because the thought process is a little different from the ordinary pages. Um, what the heck? Oh, too close. You know what? I was gonna have him on his knees picking this up, but I think this might look better if he's kind of squatting. and violating everything Alex probably taught him about bending his back. This is gonna be, yeah, this could end up. I think this is gonna be like everything that he shouldn't be doing with a squat. Hmm. Oops. Yeah, I'm gonna have to make Allison go away for this shot, aren't I? Okay, so we'll just park her in the closed folder, which is invisible. Okay, there. Actually, what I want to do, let's reset the limbs, delete the keys, and I will use fun bet. Oops. Let's see. Okay, now that we got that, let's find the hairbrush. Allison's room. This is I think this is. Okay, there we go. Oh, it's not gonna work. Okay. I think he's gonna have to be going side to side, which means this leg will have to go out a little. Okay, so where's the hairbrush? I can't unparent it or it's going to go off somewhere. So I'm just gonna have to deal with it here. Okay. Uh, these hands don't have to be perfect because we're not going to see them, so I don't care if they're in the model or not. It just needs to look like he's picking up the brush. There we go. See? Like that. That one's already mixed up, so let's go. You. That looks good. If the end of the brush ends up getting cut off, I don't think that's going to be a big deal. Oh, we forgot to put this picture in, didn't we? Okay. Oh, that would have been tragic to go through all the headache of staging that scene, only to find out this picture didn't get saved, and I had to go and redo it. Okay, that works. Oops. None. Okay. It's always when I forget to check whether or not it's lined up is when I find out I overcut it and then have to go back and undo everything. The one time I like don't check, that's when it happens. Layer to image size, edit, cut, edit, paste as new layer, select, invert, shrink, select, invert, edit, select none, and I think I see my black border, so we will merge that down. Okay, so now let's renumber this one to 14 and render it. Grab this bubble, edit, paste as new layer. We will ellipse between every word to sort of simulate his struggle in picking up the brush. And that means we've got to split this up. Okay. Oops. Come on. Grab that layer. There we go. And it's sort of like on my end. What's kind of annoying is like I'm really ready to get back and finish up the Iron Brotherhood story. I'm really anxious to get into to take up. Oh, come on. To take up Elliot and then the fifth part, United. But I think if I think if you've seen, I've posted the character, posted a couple character explorations on up on my Patreon page. So it's now my head is kind of going into that mode more than it is trying to get back into the Iron Brotherhood. Even though I want to do that. I want to finish that one up. But it's sort of it's like playing around with the character. I think sort of like playing around with different characters like that has sort of fueled an idea that I think I've been thinking of in the last couple of months, relatively recently, not long, but the idea is that um, is to sort of is to put out like a series of smaller projects, like maybe one part projects, things that aren't too deep, are a lot more fluff and fun than serious storytelling like I'm doing here. And the idea is to just like put them up on Patreon rather than sell them on Amazon, with the idea that maybe eventually there would be enough to collect into an omnibus of sorts. You just like every time, like I think what it would be is like every time a project like this starts like to wear on me and I just need the break, you sort of break with a one part story and then eventually I'm not even paying attention again. Image size. And sort of possibly collect them, although whoops. Invert select. Okay. Although part of it is because they're going on because they'd be part of the push pull on it is that because they're going on Patreon, I can kind of push because I'm not like intending to sell them right now. I could I could in theory sort of push the envelope with sex a little bit more. Save image, flatten. Whoops. Then again, if I do that, then I can't sell. Then like they can't go to Amazon. Let's see. But again, that goes into that sort of like that's an idea that goes up in my head, like the version of putting ideas on note cards and just sticking them to a wall, and in case like you find a story where they might be useful. Who knows if I'll do it or not? But let's see. But that's what's going through my head at this point in the process. Let's see what we've got. What you oh, okay? So I've been talking. We've already got one error here, so it should be what do you all think at home? Will my brother learn his lesson? He's a lot smaller than Mr. Bunny. Even my hairbrush is bigger than him. Pick it up, Jack. Show everybody at home how strong you got since you started working out with Alex. No, I'm not going to perform for your stupid viewers. I'm not going to be the butt of jokes so you can make a few bucks. I won't do it. Then we can entertain the audience another way. I hope your audience is entertained. Okay, so now we gotta come back here and Control Z will undo that. And we've got to add and hope this doesn't. Okay, that doesn't mess things up. File. Save, we will image, flatten, and export to page 17. And that is it. And that is page 17. I hope, like Allison's viewers at home, as all of you at home viewing this, or were entertained by this. I'm, but then again, I'm sure if you're still watching after, oops, after all the videos that have come out before this one, then I'm going to guess that you are entertained. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be watching. But thank you all.